Oh, okay. Sorry. So I was on mute. I'm sorry. My apologies. But again, so my name's Eric Velasquez, and I usually do interviews with candidates that are local candidates here in San Antonio. Um, I wanted to do a little bit something different. So today, because I wanted to bring this next person on, because she's actually the one who inspired me to start a podcast. Because she has her own podcast and radio show and everything. So I wanted to bring her on because she's very influential for me as well. So, um, and let me go ahead and bring her on. Let me just close this out. What's going on, Tori?
Hi, good morning.
Hi. So tell everybody who you are.
Tired. No, I'm just kidding. I got back last night from vacation and I'm still like trying to, you need like vacation from your vacation.
A little bit. Yeah, yeah.
Um, so I'm Tori Escamilla. Um, just like Eric said, I do have a podcast as well as a radio show. And I still have with everything I do, I still have a full-time job. I work for the Department of the Navy over at Lackland. And I'm also still in the Navy Reserves. I did the Navy for 10 years. So I kind of do a little bit of everything. I guess I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up.
It doesn't get any easier the older you get.
It doesn't. And it's almost kind of like you feel like there's a time limit, but you're also
Right.
yourself that, shoot your shot and live your best life and, no regrets kind of thing. But at the same time, you're like, oh, what do I want to do? Time's not getting any younger here.
Right. And then you get money, and then you're like, well, I could try this and I could try that. And
Exactly.
it still makes it even worse, right?
Even you're like, thing that I really love is not going to make me any money, but this thing that's going to make me money, not really crazy about it. So
Right. And so and that's what I want to talk about is well, I mean, a couple other things too, but um how did you get your podcast started, and do you see it going in the direction that you want it to? And if not, what do you look at to change on planning to change it, or what do you see in the future for it?
So I originally had a podcast with two girlfriends. It was called the Hana Talk, and that one was good. It was just like us kind of being chismosas and talking about the different things in our life. And they both have kids. They both work. One of them has a business, so it's kind of getting hectic in regards to our own schedules. So I was like, hey, if you guys don't mind, kind of do my own thing. And my thing really stemmed from because I started listening to podcasts originally because I was tired of hearing like the same 5 songs on the radio and podcasts. And I realized like, a lot of Hispanics are specifically Mexican Americans, right, are really from California. Everything that I heard was like LA, 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 LA. And I was like, man, they're missing such a huge scope here with all the people in Texas. We're such a huge majority here in Texas, especially in South Texas. And so I kind of thought, well, how about I just make one, on my own, our own people. And, being in the Navy, from living, I was stationed in Boston, I was stationed in California, I was stationed in Chicago, and then I came back here. There's gente everywhere, and it's so crazy how we're so similar but so different. And everybody thinks like their way of life is how Mexican Americans are, and it's not. It's so different. And then I had so many friends that are like, trans, gay, that are from different areas but moved to Texas, and so can
Mhm.
relate to one area and the other. So I just always thought it was pretty cool to tell different people's stories because we're not monolith, right? Like
Mhm.
even in San Antonio, I'm not the same. A West Sider is not the same as a South Sider is not. So I like that there was so many different
Background.
yeah, so many different backgrounds, many different stories, but we all have such a similar core.
Hmm. Yeah, it's something like when I was stationed in Rota in Spain, which is a Navy base. Uh, I met this one dude, and he was actually from San Antonio, and we just like we're like, all right, we're cool, because we both grew up on the South Side, and we're just like, all right, there you go.
Yeah, that's really how it is. One of my really good friends, who I did my I'm Chicano and Trans episode with, um, him and I met when we were both stationed on the Constitution in Boston, and we ended up like having similar like friends, and it was just so weird, like never had met him in my whole life, but born and raised from San Antonio, both of us, not too far from each other really either. And then it just so happens that we had like mutual friends. I was like, oh my goodness, what a small world.
Right. And that actually happened to me too with one of my best friends is um I found out until I worked with Lockheed and he was looking through some pictures 'cause I used to be a photographer and he was looking through some pictures like, hey, my cousin. I was like, oh really? And then found out that, we had just became friends, but found out that before we were in the same neighborhood, like same, went to Palm Heights. We were like all in the same neighborhood and we just never met. It's just weird. I'm like, how do we not, it's just that whole aspect of, we're a community, but sometimes we just don't meet people when we're supposed to,
Right.
Do you believe in that?
Oh, 100%. I've met literally cousins who we like found out down the line that we were related, and we're like, what?
Tell everybody who.
Oh no, okay, well, besides that,
The most recent one.
I always know about Chris. Actually, no one ever believed me, and I never wanted anybody to think like I was bragging or anything. But I always knew. I just hadn't seen him in a lot of years. But no, I actually, one of my really close cousins now. The first time we ever met, well, we went to high school together, and the first time we ever met was at my grandmother's funeral, and I was like, I know you. And, but her grandpa and my grandma were brother and sister, and I was like, what in the world? Hijo, San Antonio, man, I have like 20 million cousins, so who knows?
I know, right? So what are your plans for the future? Like, do you plan on continuing to do the podcast, and what direction do you want to see it go? Because I mean, that I know that with me, that's been playing in my head. Like, what do I do next? Right, the election's over. That was my thing, right? The election's over. What do I do? Like, and so what are your plans for the future?
Yeah, unfortunately I haven't put out as many episodes this season as I really wanted to. Unfortunately life happens and I have like a million other things. And I really wish that I would. I think this vacation kind of helped me reset because I'm finding that I'm getting like, even for as inconsistent as I have been, I'm like meeting people, and I've had other people that are like, hey, this person found me through your podcast and I got a connection with them. Whether it be like business or some sort of like working together. I've had a lot of good response. I've had somebody even reach out to me to help me do their dissertation on, I actually think it was on Selena. I'm still like talking to her in the work. So it's so crazy how, these little things have come together that I'm kind of like, man, okay, I'm obviously doing something. I just think it's so cool how something that I really feel like if I put my 100% into it, it could be something so big. It's just, between work and school and, all these millions of other things I have going on. I definitely haven't done it as much as I want to, but I definitely don't want to stop either because I do see these little seeds that are being planted.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, is you actually inspired me to start this, and I thank you for that because honestly, I never liked just talking, right? In general, in front of people, and especially live, because since we're doing a live stream right now, I've always been like kind of weird. I'm like, oh, I feel weird, and I don't know what to say. But after you start doing it, you get used to it, right? I mean, especially with you being a talk show host, it's like when I saw you when we were doing an interview and you were interviewing me, it was just like you were just like, all right, bum bum bum, answering calls and multitasking, and it's just like easy for you. So, but I thank you for I think I was one of your seeds in a sense. So, but yeah, I think, there's always people watching, and I think, what was it? Somebody said, there might be people that are hating on you silently, right? But there's also people that are cheering you on silently. And I think that's something that we need to just remember, because even though we might not get that hey, you're doing awesome or whatever, there's people there that are cheering us on, right?
Right. Oh yeah, 100%. It is. I even at when it's just, we had our first meeting for the LLI on Friday, And I just kind of briefly mentioned the podcast, and somebody was like, "Hey, I follow you. I've listened to your podcast. Oh my gosh, so cool!" I still, even those little things, I still get so like excited about, because I'm like, oh my god, people are actually like listening. Like, I see my numbers and my downloads, but it's different from somebody to be like, "Hey, I actually listened," and I'm like, "Oh my god, thank you so much." I'm so like
it's
honored.
like it's like you're a celebrity. And actually, I think I know three of you that are in that class. So you, Larissa, and then Olga.
Mhm.
Um, I was like, wow, all these all these people are in this class. Can you tell everybody what that is, the LLI?
So it's the Latina Leadership Institute through the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And it's pretty much just, you know, teaching skills, teaching women who are, already have leadership skills, who are already, in the forefront of whatever their spectrum is, um, and just kind of polishing them, teaching them how to do different things, helping us learn about our culture even more, teaching us how we can really help the community, how we can get involved exactly. um, I keep saying like grooming, kind of, which is probably a
I
horrible
mean,
word, but polishing us up to really
yeah,
teach in and outs of, like whether we want to run for politics, whether we want to get into boards or committee, to help grow the community, to speak up more, to be a part of something that we all believe in, when it comes to our community and one another. And, the program started because a lot of these women who originally started didn't really feel like they had a lot of, mentorship, especially from women. They didn't really feel like they had a group that they could come to and talk to and bounce things off. And it's really grown. I mean, I do a lot, and the women that I've met so far from this program make me feel like I need to step my. So it's
right.
amazing. I mean, all the women that have been chosen are just, I mean, amazing, amazing, just blowing me out of the water. And everyone else, like, you're doing so much. And sometimes I know I'm doing a lot, and I see these women, and I'm just like, wow, like,
Yeah.
if there's anybody who was going to run this city, it would be this group.
Mm. Yeah, and you know what I realized too, because when I ran last year, you know, it was great, but there's a lot of things that you could still do as a regular person, as a community advocate. There's a lot of things you can do, and I think we always put an emphasis on, you have to be in politics, but not necessarily,
Right.
Um, so what are some things that you would like to see as a community advocate?
Um, a lot of things actually. What I want to do in hopes, once this is done, is I do want to be on the West Side Development Board. All my family's from the West Side. My grandparents still live there, and my uncle owns a lot across from his house, right there off of West Salinas, right across from the Bear County Jail, actually. And
Mm.
I see just, I take care of my grandpa, as you know, and so I'm over there all the time. I'm seeing how much it's growing. I'm seeing how much that it's slowly growing, but I also, I'm kind of worried how the city intends to grow it.
Mm.
And even though I'm not a part of that neighborhood, it holds a huge, huge part of my heart. So I definitely want to see how that's going to grow. I definitely want to be involved, and, where they're planning to take that. Definitely for a lot of stuff for veterans. They have a lot of programs for veterans here. I mean, San Antonio's Military USA, and they really do. I think it's a matter of getting those resources out. And then also for the elderly, with seeing how much my mom and myself have worked in regards to with my grandpa. And he wasn't a veteran, which most older Hispanic Latinos are, so they have like that VA, and they have
Mm.
all of those benefits, but he doesn't. So it's been really interesting seeing him go through, he's been sick, he's gotten cancer twice, his chemo. So it's been really interesting seeing, what kind of programs that they have for the elderly, especially those for, maybe who don't have insurance, things of that nature. And I know they have a board that is specifically to help towards the elderly. So just things like that, I guess, pretty much things that I myself have witnessed firsthand that I really want to be able to contribute to help other people who are in that similar situation, or try to help make decisions for maybe people who don't even know that there's decisions to be made.
Right. Like property taxes. I'm going to bring it up. I'm sorry, everybody, but property taxes. Today is the last day to protest your property taxes. If you haven't done so, please do so. Because that'll save you some money. I mean, regardless, it'll save you at least $15 a month. I mean, or more. It just depends. Like me, my property taxes went up $200 a month extra, which is crazy. Well, my mortgage. So you think about that, like $200 a month, how much you could save that in your pocket if you bring that down. So make sure you do that, those property protesting. And especially because, like you said, with gentrification, right? A lot of people don't know they could protest their property taxes or don't know how to. So I think it's important for people like us to make sure we make this apparent that you can do that. You can constantly get this information out to people, right? Because if people don't know, they won't know what to do, right? Now, there's people that I do know that they know they don't do it, so you can't help those people sometimes. But it's definitely important to get all that information out, and I think that I think you do that very well as well to get information out as much as you can, and I applaud you for that. So how was your trip to Miami?
It was great. I needed vacation so bad. I hadn't really gone on vacation since I moved back to San Antonio, and
Right,
I've probably needed it the most since I've moved back to San Antonio.
right.
But it was good. I really just needed a couple days to sit on the beach and enjoy life, not answer phone, not answer email. It was much much needed.
Yeah, definitely. So with what was I gonna say? Oh, so with your radio station, um, how what do you see in the future for that? Do you see like you continuing to do that or
Oh, I love it. Honestly, the radio, I never even intended to get into radio. Started because I just love Tejano. It's such a huge staple in my life and my upbringing, my cultura. And when the older radio station went down to AM, they made it seem like it was going away, and I was like, oh no, because it was kind of, Tejano has always been my safety blanket, for lack of better words. Whenever I missed home, when I was gone,
Mm.
deployed, or whatever, whenever I'd be sad or miss my family, um, I would always turn on Tejano. That was kind of like what made me feel good.
Mm.
And between like the Selena series right now, and even Jennifer Pena singing at the Canelo fight, I definitely think Tejano's peaking back up, and so I'm so glad that I'm here at this time to be witnessing it.
Yeah, for sure. I know you've had a lot of people that you've interviewed and some big names. So what's your most memorable interview?
Um, I've had a few. I don't know. Gosh. Um, I would probably say AJ Castillo, just for the fact that I had like the biggest crush on him. My first interview, and they played a joke on me. The other DJ, Big Boy, and our boss Homer, they were like, "Hey, AJ's dad called. He's not feeling good. He's not going to come in after all. Like stop, promoting that he's going to come in today, whatever." And I was like, "Oh man, that stinks." And so the next thing I know, someone knocks on the door, and it's AJ Castillo, and he opens up the door, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'm ready when you are." And I was just there like, and they just thought it was the funniest thing. Laughing, and he came in, and the whole time, I've never really been one to fangirl, but the whole time I was like, it was so funny. And that was the only person that I ever got like, oh my god. But it was just so funny, just because one, I was already nervous to meet him, and then they played that on me, and I was like, rude. But there's been a few, there's been a few that I've been so blessed with my show, because um there's been so many artists that reached out to me that are like, we want to be on your show, we love what you're doing, we love the women that
That's
have,
awesome.
we want to go on your show. And I know a lot of people do their radio tours, but to have people want to come on the show, I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. um
Now, did you ever try to, or I don't know if you can or not, but can you ever try to rope them into getting onto your podcast at all, or no?
oh, I have. I just haven't, just for and I always mean to tell myself, like, double record this so that way you could have the interview on the radio, and so you can have it on um the podcast, because
Oh
my
yeah, yeah,
always like, hey, promote your podcast whenever you want to, like, because I always promote the station on my podcast. And
yeah.
I always forget, it never fails.
Oh come on, that's like prime right there.
I know, I need to figure out how to convert Facebook Live to audio. So if anyone knows how to do that, please tell me, because I would be able to record all of those previous interviews on my podcast if that was the case.
Or I'll talk to you later. Maybe we can work something out. But Sal says, did you do radio first or podcast? I do a radio talk show program, but I am transitioning into podcast. Is there much of a difference for you?
I did podcast first. I actually sent a recording of my podcast to the station when I applied to work there. So I did the podcast. I think podcast is so much easier because, well, pros and cons. So radio, there's no editing. Whatever you say is gonna come out, point blank, period. So I can just flow and talk and I'll be fine. Podcast, I realize, and I don't know if it's a mental thing because I know I'm recording it and I can edit it, that I notice sometimes I'll have to backtrack what I'm saying. I'll say it again, or I kind of like mess up my words. And I do that on the radio sometimes live, but very rarely. So I don't know if it's just a mental thing or not. But
Just switch over to live stream like I'm doing. That was the thing too. I would record videos and then I would post them, and I'd be sitting there. Oh nope, that sucks. I sound stupid, and I would.
or maybe it's because you're watching yourself. Whereas
Yeah.
live, I mean, what you can't take back what you just said.
No, you can't. It's just like, well, that's what I think it is. It's a mental thing, and you're like, well, I have a mulligan. I'm gonna go ahead and take it. So I'm gonna go back and rewind and try it again. But I think doing the live, it's a lot different, but it's similar to a talk show. I mean, you're live. You can't go back and you can't edit. Granted, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's more of an advantage to edit?
Yes and no. Because live is live. If you say something crazy or if you say something funny or out of left field, it's kind of like, oh, didn't expect that to come out. And then if you hear something, maybe you're like, oh, maybe that's not appropriate, or oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. So you take it out. And I think maybe sometimes you take out some of the good stuff that you don't realize is like, oh, that's actually kind of good. I should have left
Right. Yeah, exactly.
pros
So
and
I
cons.
mean, so do you think so do you encourage Sal to do the podcast uh as well as a radio talk show?
Yeah, 100%. I think with podcasts, you can definitely get into depth with certain subjects. You can definitely say more. You don't have to edit yourself. Like on the radio, you can't curse. There's certain taboo kind of topics you can't talk about. So if you're really trying to get more into depth, more into detail, or talk about something that is not going to be appropriate on the radio, that's definitely where the podcast genre comes in.
Yeah, and honestly, I think like doing these live streams are actually like in the middle, right? In the middle of radio talk shows and podcasts, because one, you're doing it live. You don't have to really follow the FCC guidelines, right?
Exactly.
And you're still doing like a podcast in a sense. So it's kind of in the middle, which
Yeah,
is best of both worlds, right?
no, it really
um so what do you plan on um what does the future look like for you as far as with you know Do you think you might be jumping into something else in the future, new that you think of?
I ask myself this every day, Eric. I've been so, especially lately, I've just been on this like, I'm not sitting right with where I am right now. Like I'm happy, I'm enjoying it, but I feel like it's time for me to step up to the next chapter, which I don't really know what it is yet. Just because
Right.
there's so many things I like, there's so many things I want to do. Not all of them exactly interconnect, but I'm just kind of taking any and every opportunity and just letting the universe guide me, I guess, for lack of better words. I feel like whatever is meant for me is gonna continue to show itself, and I'm just gonna, you know, continue to do what I feel is the best for me, and then just, let life take me where it will.
Yeah. And that is hard because, like for me, I love doing this. This is fun, Um, does it pay the bills? Definitely not. But it's just one of those things that I don't know. It's an interesting type of way to communicate. Um, but there are people that do this for a living and they make good money off of it. It's just having to capitalize on that, right? But
Mhm.
then it's like then it to me, I don't know. It's always been like once it becomes a job, then it's no longer fun to do. I don't know if you've ever felt like that before. Like
Oh,
to where, right? Like with photography, it was like, oh, I would do it for fun, and it was always fun. And then once it started becoming like a job, it was just like, oh, it's not fun anymore. I don't want to do it.
maybe it's because you feel like you have to.
Right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think maybe that's where it's like, okay, well, I don't feel like I have to. There are some times where, like, especially with doing these interviews, it was like I was like, okay, I have to do one a day, which was crazy. I didn't realize how crazy that was, but doing one a day for like 3 weeks was, an hour and a half long, maybe sometimes. It was just a lot. And I was like, man, but they were always enjoyable conversations because it was like something that really hit home for me.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's just crazy, and you wonder like, okay, well, what's next? you know what's next for Chicana Chisme? What's next for, what are your sights headed for? You know what I mean? And that's always the question that we always want to like, oh, what do we do?
That's right now. I'm
But
just things day by day.
I know, right? It's too much to think about.
Exactly.
um what was I gonna ask? I was gonna ask something specifically. Dang, I forgot. If anybody has any questions, again, please make sure you ask. um how many times have you been interviewed?
Quite a few actually. I've done quite a few podcasts. I would say maybe like 6 or 7 podcasts. Um, from, and again, from like the most random things. The most random things. It's so crazy. I did a podcast. It was called the Enlightenment Podcast, and she found me off of like a hashtag.
Hmm.
And she's like, "Hey, I saw you're in the military, and that you're, Mexican American." So she was just like asking me about like what it was like to be a female in the military, because I really have so many different intersectionalities. I'm a veteran. I'm, Hispanic. um, I'm on the radio. I have a podcast.
Mhm.
So many different little sectionalities that people are so curious about.
Right.
I've worked with what is it called? The Healthy Hero podcast. That's a really good one. I've done a couple online stuff. I've done, like I said, someone asked me to help her with her dissertation. Just
Mm.
things like that. It's pretty neat. Like I said, I always think it's really awesome when somebody reaches out and is like, "Hey, I'm interested. I think this would be, I want to talk about this on your platform." And I'm always so honored that people, want to talk to me. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, thank
Right.
you. I'm cool." Or at least thinks I have something to say. I don't know.
I know, right? I know. I always wonder. I'm like, man, what if I don't know what to say, or what if But a lot of times, I think if we think too much about it, it becomes clouded. And I just think like just having a good conversation, is really what's important, right? Just to be able to have a conversation, just talk about some things, and I think that's what really reflects on people and like the genuine, I don't know how to say, the genuine ideals in the person. I think that's really matters, right?
Right.
You could always tell, like, okay, this person's just genuine.
No, that's really fun. And sometimes you're kind of like, oh, okay.
So what are some things that you do to prep for an interview or on your podcast?
I kind of do the same thing with the radio too. Depending who I'm asking questions to, I ask specifically if the podcast. Usually, I try to have like a theme, so it'll kind of be on the guidelines of, who they are, what they do, why they do what they do. How does it correlate with your culture? What does your culture have to do with um, this specific reason why you are the way you are? And then with the radio. Um, I usually kind of like deep dive, like, okay, what are they currently doing? What are they working on? Do they have, and a lot of the women right now in Tejano have so much other stuff going on, like quite a few of them have their own makeup lines right now. Quite a few of them are do designer. Crystal Diaz has a dance company, and on top of she does like her pageants. So many of these women and these people have so much going on. There's really like I almost don't even have to ask because just them telling about themselves, kind of fills the whole interview because they just have so much going on.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And that's a good place to be at. But I mean, too, like you were saying, just having a self-reflection, right? And being able to take some time to take a vacation or to recenter yourself. I mean, a lot of people don't do that, you
Yeah,
know.
I was feeling a burnout, like a couple of days ago. Me and my supervisor, it was something so minimal. And I like went to my car and I called my mom and I was like, I'm over today. Just she was like, chill out, dude. And I was like, I know, I'm sorry. It was just, sometimes it just things overwhelm you and even the smallest thing can just,
Right.
break comes back sometimes.
Yeah. And that's another great thing is having a support system, which a lot of people take for granted. Not a lot of people have a support system, right? Especially women or especially men, right? Men don't have a good support system because it's always kind of, I don't know, not frowned upon, but it's like, oh, just get over it kind of thing. And I think that's how it kind of is like in Hispanic culture too. It's like, uh, oh, just kind of get over it, right?
Right. Suck it up.
And right, yeah. So how do we change that?
I feel like a lot of people have started changing things like that. Honestly, like I was diagnosed a few years ago with depression and anxiety, and I felt like I had it for a while, and it just came to a point where I couldn't ignore it anymore. And for the while, my grandma was like, "You're fine. You have." I don't know why you're sad. You have this, you have that. I don't understand why you're sad. What are you sad about? And I was like, if I knew, I'd tell you. I don't know.
Right.
I really don't know why I mean, obviously there's issues that are unavoidable, but for the most part, I was like, that's a good question. Or, I get the whole like, you're just being dramatic, or, you'll be fine, get over it. That's life, and but because that's the way they were taught, and I feel like as the generations have been going on, people really do realize that you can't tackle everything by yourself. Things really do um affect you and affect your brain. And I've actually one of my last class, my last semester at Our Lady of the Lake, I did a Chicano literature class, and so many of the books I read describe mental illness, but they don't call it that. They call it like what was one of the names in the book? They call it like ternos or something, or like, which is kind of like like terrors, I guess.
Oh.
Or they would say like, "Oh, ta loca, she's the crazy one in the family," or like, "No, she was bipolar," or "No, she
Right.
had post-traumatic episodes," or this, that, or even my grandma. I'm like, I'm pretty sure you got low anxiety there, lady. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
And especially for men too. That's definitely something. I've definitely seen a lot of men. And I'm not talking crap or frowning upon any of the men, but Where did it go?
I'm here. I'm here. My
Oh,
camera battery went out. I'm listening.
I've noticed a lot of men cover it up with alcohol. That's a big thing in the Latino family. Is alcohol. They think if they drink, they're getting drunk, that's their way of covering it up. But meanwhile they're drunk and crying and telling you their whole life story about how their mom spanked them when they were 5. And not to not to mock it, but I'm just saying, I've seen that a lot. But I do think a lot of men are kind of trying to realize that they're going to be a lot healthier and a lot more beneficial to their family if they come to terms with things.
Right. Yeah. And that's true because there's so many times where, especially in the military, it was looked frowned upon if you brought up things, right? Or you didn't want to have that label of, oh, well, there's something wrong with you. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
So that was a big one, you know, and we always saw it, and it's just like, man, you always treat. It looks like people always treated badly if they were always bring up like mental illness or something like that, and nobody ever wanted to say anything.
Right.
And I think we are heading in a different direction. And honestly, I think that I want to say I credit millennials for doing that, because they're actually speaking up about it, right? Especially the younger kids now, they're actually speaking out about it, and they're saying things where we didn't, I think.
And no, 100%. And I hate, and I'm not gonna lie, maybe met a couple. I'm a, so I can't really technically I'm a millennial, but
Yeah.
the Gen Z, this
Hmm.
past the newer millennials, they do say a lot and they do talk a lot. And I hate for when people are like, oh, they're snowflakes. No, we were literally bred to shut up and take things, and that's not okay. Are there certain things that's a little overboard? Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
not that serious, but I do definitely think that a lot of these people are, and it's not that they're sensitive, it's just that they're learning how to do things in a more productive way and bringing it to the forefront instead of burying their feelings. And then that's why you have these people that are you know pissed off all the time. That's why they can't enjoy life. That's why they hate on other people. That's why they do drugs. That's why they drink, is because they're finding other outlets because they
Yeah.
felt like they couldn't uh let out how they really felt, or they couldn't let out about things they were going through because it was frowned upon for them to make it known.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually had that conversation with one of my friends not too long ago. It's like, as much as sometimes they can be a little much, I definitely think that a lot of issues, they just are like, I'm not gonna shut up about this just because you did.
Right. It's like, damn, what do we do? you
You know,
know, and,
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
Me and one of my friends had a whole conversation about the whole like Pepe Le Pew thing, about,
Oh,
or not Pepe Le Pew, Speedy Gonzalez.
well,
And
Pepe Le Pew too.
yeah, Pepe Le Pew
You
too,
he
which,
was a little weird.
okay, that's a whole different subject, right? Speedy Gonzalez, and I had asked people on a poll in my podcast, are you offended by Speedy Gonzalez? And you get all the people that are like, oh, they're just sensitive. Speedy, no Mexican ever was offended by Speedy Gonzalez, and this and that. I wasn't offended by Speedy Gonzalez. I liked him. He was fast. He was witty. He was smart. Do I understand why they felt some way? Because he was like the thieving, conniving type Mexican. Yes, I get that. And so I was like, I was never offended, but at the same time, that's kind of all we ever had to represent us at that
Yeah,
certain point in
true.
time, right? So you see somebody who kind of looks like you or sounds like you, and you're proud of that because that's the first time you're ever seeing that sort of representation, aside from your family members, right? But I do understand the concept of people having a problem with it because it was
The bar was set pretty low, I guess. Is what.
exactly, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
So for people to be like, I Latinos, we're never offended. We're not like, I've heard this a lot, that like, oh, we're not like other people where we're offended by everything. And it's because we were always taught to sweep things under the rug and shut up.
Right.
We were taught to get over it,
Yeah.
and so us, we built such a tough callus around our feelings that to us we're like, oh, you're offended, why are you crying, when in reality, no, that kind of wasn't okay, because they were making fun of us. They weren't
Right.
making us these valientes. They weren't making us these, great American people that people wanted to be like. So uh, it's not, to me, it's not that as deep, which is why I'm not technically, I guess, offended by it. But I do understand where the concept of, it not being okay stemmed from.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to look at it like, okay, well, where do we go forward, and where do we like change the perspective? Like, I mean, I don't remember seeing any like Hispanic superheroes. I don't know,
Right.
have you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Percent.
No, I don't want it to be like Taco Power or something like that, something stupid.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
There you go.
but but yeah, different things like that, and like you said, is seeing yourself in these positions, right? Like that was one of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to run for office because I wanted to be somebody who people could look up to, know that I barely graduated high school, um, and but still do something for myself and do something for the community. I think that's what really matters. And people are looking, like kids are looking. I know my kids are always watching, and and I know people will always look to you, especially a little girl that'll look to you and say, I want to be like Tori, and there's going to be somebody like that. There's going to be a little girl like that that's going to say that, or even a little boy that's going to say, I want to be just like Tori. I see that she's done this and this, and even though it might look minuscule to you, it could speak volumes to that person. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think we need to just remember that, just to not be so hard on ourselves.
Oh, 100%. I remember one time, I think I was in California, and there was this little girl. She was with her mom. I think I was like at a taqueria getting breakfast when I was in the military. And this little girl was like, I was in my uniform, and she was like, you're so pretty. Can I take a picture? And she was a little brown girl, little brown kid. And I remember I was like, my heart. Yes. Just because I was, like, she was just so in awe of me in my uniform. And I was like, oh my goodness. Here, have it. I don't know. And I say the same about, I tell everybody about you all the time, Eric. Like,
Oh, thank
I
you.
had, even when they started the Jefe mindset with,
Oh,
I was like, you need to talk to Eric. He does so many amazing things. And I always tell people, he doesn't look like what your normal politician is. And that's what I love about you so much, is that, you know, and I feel like this a lot too, because I'm crazy. I used to be a party girl. I'm always in the calle. I'm always doing something. I like to dress up sometimes. I'm crazy. I like to drink, but that doesn't make me any less professional. That
right.
doesn't make me any. That doesn't make me any less of somebody who wants to do things around the community. That doesn't make me any less of a family person. That doesn't lessen me in any way because I like to have fun, or because I like to
Mhm.
have, I want to do things for other people. And I like that. I would rather have somebody come to me in, you know um Dickies and some Nikes, who
Right.
want to help, than somebody who's going to come to me in a suit, nice and sharp. you know
Right.
I don't need you to talk slick to me. I want you to tell me the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I think is missing, especially in politics and local politics, and just in general. I mean, for me, I look for friendships that are authentic, and that I can say, look, I can be real with, and I want you to be real with me, right? I want you to be like, look, I'm hurting right now, or I'm in a terrible spot, and you be okay to speak to me about it, right?
Mhm.
Rather than you saying, "Oh, everything's cool," and there's not things, and we know it's not cool, right? But you just pass it off. I don't appreciate those, and I don't know if how you feel about that, but for like friendships, like real good friendships, I'm like, you got to be real with me.
Right.
You got to tell me, like, and even then, so like to people who I don't know very well, sometimes I'm always real with you. I won't maybe tell you my full life story, but I mean, there's always, you could always look at how genuine somebody is, and that's why I wanted to do these podcasts, these live streams with the candidates, because it's like you don't get to see the real person by hearing these like 5 minute statements, that they have during these forums. You really get to interact, and especially like our last interview, I asked him a kind of a tough question, and I wanted to see what his reaction was going to be. And there's been some that have been like avoided the question completely, or have been like flustered, they didn't want to answer, and that tells a lot about somebody's character. um and I think we need more of that, to where we kind of push, especially for our elected officials, and especially our community organizations, because not every community organization is great, but we can always push these people to be better, right? um Anthony says thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you.
Nicole says yes to all of this. um what do you think about Anthony? Stop. Probably she's not a politician. She's a radio personality and a host for a podcast. But I mean, if you want to answer it, you can. It's up to you.
I was devil's advocate with Prop B, because I have I could definitely argue both sides. It's the same thing with the military. People have always said that the military is overfunded. And I'm not going to lie and sit here and say there was definitely a lot of better places that they could put their money, including, their troops. I was with the CBs, and we still literally got like Vietnam equipment, like, okay.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
So when anybody says military grade, anything,
bullshit.
yeah, yeah. don't believe the hype.
Now, if
it's best for lowest bidder. It's what is it? The lowest bidder gets the contract.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think certain things are necessary. Our military is definitely built out of necessity. You got to protect yourselves, and the same thing with police. So I'm not gonna get all into that, but I could definitely play devil's advocate for both sides, because I definitely think that there's pros and cons to a lot of things. Because again, I've heard it with the military. I've had people that are like, "Why are you in the military? You're a sellout. They don't care about Hispanic people and this and that." And I used to tell people, "So you'd rather an all white male military?" Okay.
Right.
Come back to me when you think about that one.
Yeah, no joke. And look, I am very much an advocate for anti-war. Just as a libertarian itself, I don't want war. I do think that people don't like us overseas. There's a lot of people that don't like us. So do we need to stay ready? Yes. We always need to stay. Yeah. So and we always push a lot of people's buttons, and we're asking for a whooping, basically, is what we're asking for. If you think about it, you see all the people that we get upset, it's scary.
Yeah.
And so we do have to be ready. When I was in Iraq, did I think we needed to be there? No. We were guarding pipelines, not people.
Yeah.
And it was sad. So I mean, it just doesn't, it didn't make sense, occupying different lands, and I don't know, but either way, I mean, it is there. I do thank everybody for their service, and I think that a lot of people, I had a hard time with it because I didn't follow blindly. I always had that, just like I am now, I always had that went against the grain. I always kind of
why?
Right. Yeah. What do you mean I have to pick up cigarette butts? I don't even smoke. It's just stupid. Like, well, it does, everybody does. I'm like, so not everybody smokes. So, I always had a hard time with that, because a lot of the stuff didn't make sense, and I think having to question those things really affects you in your time in the military sometimes.
Hard time with that too. I mean, I was always getting into it with everybody, but I'm not going to sit here and say that the military didn't do a lot for me either.
Yeah.
And I do think, being a part of, like I said, I was with the CBs. I mean, everyone thinks we go to war and we didn't. I mean, we did great things. You know, when I was with the CBs, I was our government card holder, so I purchased a lot of our supplies. You know, we've built schools in third world countries, we've built wells, we've built restrooms, which sounds so minimal, but these people literally have no, you know, sewage systems. You know, they have nowhere to go to the restroom. You know, they had no schools to actually, you know, sit in, you know, that was as a block of a way, you know, where these kids can actually have somewhere to sit in, you know,
Mhm.
such small things, such menial things. We built roads where there was no roads, and, you know, unnecessary. I've seen those plus sides, which I honestly think there's plus and minuses to everything, right? Nothing's going to be,
Right.
but definitely do more than just go to war. You know, we definitely do a lot of humanitarian missions. You know, when I first came in, that's when the big mudslide happened over in Haiti. You know,
Mm.
people went to go help reconstruct, they help, you know, pick up bodies. Unfortunately, you know, when Katrina happened, you know, the Navy was out there to try to help, you know, help rescue people. So, you know, unfortunately, those are not the things we see in the news, right?
No, yeah.
They're huge things that we do. I mean, the military does so much more than we get credit for,
Hmm.
which
Yeah,
is,
definitely.
as much as everyone wants to talk crap about it, I can honestly say that I've seen them do so much good things, you know, as much.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And you know, it's a different like scope, right? Like, I mean, you know, we talk about the police and everything, and things are different when you know you are in a combat situation. Um, but it's also different when you don't know what's going to happen, right? You know, and you're always a target. I mean, you're always a target in the military, or even as a police officer. I think you are a target, but still doesn't give it, you know, justification. There's definitely a lot of things that definitely need to change, but
Oh,
um,
especially after, you know, uh everything with Venice again, you know, and
mhm.
you know, like myself and, you know, Larissa, you know, me and my friend Maida, who her and I have had a lot of discussions. We're all veterans. You know, I mean, it was so hard defending the military at that time. You know,
Yeah,
I had so many people like, I would never let my child join. I would never let my daughter join. And it's so hard defending something because I had a great career. I never had any issues, you know, thank God. And, you know, but I know that's definitely something my parents were worried about. Some huge. My mom was like, can you guarantee that nothing's ever going to happen during my.
just do what I did. Just do what I did.
He was like,
I
well,
left. I left for Iraq. I didn't tell my mom I was going to Iraq.
oh, my mom would have gone to Iraq with me. But it was so hard because, you know, unfortunately, you know, there are bad with goods.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, you can't be scared of the world because bad things happen, but you can't be naive because good things happen too. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. And that's a hard thing, but at the end of the day, you know, there's always people that renew your faith in humanity, right?
Right.
Um, Sometimes it's far and few in between, but there are some of those times, and you know, whether it's for people saying, you know, hey, you're doing an awesome job, to you know, I don't know, whatever it is, there's, or seeing somebody do something good without wanting to get recognition. I mean, those things happen a lot, and um hopefully it'll just keep happening, and that light would outshine the darkness, right? Because
Right.
that's really what it's all about. But um Tori, do you have anything that you want to say? Oh, Crystal, what's up, Crystal? What's going on? Have you ever met Crystal?
No, but I do. Her and I do follow each other.
Yes, she's amazing. She does a lot of community service work. I can't even tell you, that girl's everywhere. I haven't seen you. I haven't seen you, Crystal. I gotta go see you. Um, but yeah, definitely she's another good one that always doing stuff. So y'all two should connect. I know. Did you connect with Larissa? Did I connect you with Larissa or no? She was just, I forget how Larissa and you connected. Hello?
Yes.
Did you hear
Again.
me? Yes, yes, you.
Oh no, I met Larissa because I volunteered to help with the mural.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, and then it just so happened that my cousins actually own Sanchez's house.
Oh, okay.
And so then we just kind of like became, girlfriends since then. And I think the first time you and I met was at the mural.
Yeah, I met both of y'all the first time.
Yeah,
It's
I,
always weird.
I have so many internet friends that I've met, and then we meet in real life, and I'm like, we've been besties all this time, and we finally like met face to face.
It's weird. It's weird because I always feel weird and awkward because I'm like, how do I open up? How do I say, hey, I've been following you, weirdly on the internet?
It's not as weird anymore. I was talking to my friend the other day. I was like, could you imagine this like 10 years ago? Like, remember when AOL chat rooms were like a big thing? And
Yeah.
Tara,
Oh.
that's probably a serial killer, a predator waiting to kidnap you.
Right.
I'm like, oh, that's my bestie. I know her whole life. Like, we're gonna go have dinner later. I would have been like, what?
What is it now? It says don't talk to strangers on the internet. Don't get in cars with strangers. And what do? We go on Uber.
Uber and being best with our internet friends.
Hey, it could happen, right?
Yes.
Anthony says if you could take Eric to any taco place, which one would it be? Yes,
Oh,
what tacos?
it wouldn't be here in San Antonio.
Okay, this interview's over. All right, bye. No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing.
Me personally, I love Henry's Puppy Taco. That's my spot. I probably go there like every other week. That's my Tex-Mex self. But tacos is a good question.
Yeah.
Like street
Any other place? No, just any Mexican restaurant.
I like a bunch of different places. That's a good question. You know what's weird? And everyone always judges me for this, but I always judge a Mexican restaurant off of their cheese. Like if they use the government plasticky cheese, I will not eat there again.
And which one's that? Explain to everybody who doesn't know what you're talking about.
There's a few, man, it's kind of like shredded Velveeta cheese.
Like the thick slices?
Yes.
The little thick
actual like legit cheese off the block.
Uh-huh.
I don't know how to explain it. It even melts different. I don't know.
Yeah, the ones that there's thick little strips just shredded.
Yeah, but that's how I judge Mexican restaurants off their cheese. If they don't have cheese I like, I will not go back there.
So you mean so Taco Cabana doesn't have that shredded cheese? Would you still eat there?
Taco Cabana has the cheese that I don't mind.
Yeah.
Everyone hates on Taco Cabana. I love Las Palapas.
Yeah, they are good.
Hispanic restaurant, it would be Las Palapas.
Have you tried the lemonade there?
Yes.
It's so good.
It is good. And they have I've looked for it everywhere and I've maybe found one place that was kind of close, but they have the best chicken tortilla soup.
Oh, oh no, I'm thinking about you're talking about the little tortilla strips or no? Yeah. Oh, really?
At Las Palapas. Try it. It's amazing. It has like huge slices of chicken. They use the Monterrey cheese. They put avocado in it. Oh my God, it's amazing. I don't care what anybody says. That's my go-to.
Eric, what steakhouse would you show Tori? Oh, steakhouse. Steakhouse. That's a good one. Oh, honestly, and I don't know if I'm gonna get any crap for this, but I do like what's that place called off of 2D1? Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. I haven't been there in a while, but it's 2D1 and by like Thousand Oaks. It's across from the Texas Roadhouse and the Walk-Ons. What is it called? If anybody knows, please let me know.
I'm not
but they have good steak there, and then they put like these little onion rings on top, and it's like it's pretty good. Crystal says American versus cheddar.
Cheddar for sure.
Cheddar, all right, but yeah. Cheddar is better.
Exactly.
Bohannon's. What's that?
I think that's a steakhouse.
Oh, Bohannon's?
I think so.
Bohannon's? Or Benihana? No, not Benihana. J Prime is yummy. See that sounds like it's over my budget though. If it has the word prime on it, I don't know. I don't know. What steakhouse do you like?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, not very many people like steak. A lot of people are, well, maybe it's because I have like Gen Z friends, but no,
It's all like
not
chicken.
anymore. I'm like, "Ugh, whatever. Look, Eric, I'm still a little hood. Me and my grandpa, he just wants a steak from like the Mexican restaurant down the street. They don't care. And I'm like, curve habit. I need to get out of that habit.
Right. No, you don't need to. You got to instill the culture. Stick with the culture.
About the malt house though. Like when I came back, they had just closed it, and I was like, "That was my favorite place ever." I don't care if they had roaches and didn't wash their hands with grease. It was so good.
Oh, what was it? Me and my wife went to. We always go to Phoenix Chinese Cafe off of West Avenue and Blanco.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you ever been, but um, it's been there. And there was one time I ate it, and I was like, "Oh, I don't like it. It tastes too clean. Like if they clean the where they cook it, I was like, it tastes too clean. I don't like it. I like the
Have the leftover flavors from all
right. Yeah. I was like, man, this is I like the old stuff. um okay, so because I am a huge fan of pizza, what is your favorite pizza spot?
Oh, there's this place down the street from my house. This one I have answer. There's a place at my house. They have two of them. There's one on Tezo and one on Bandera. It's called Halftime Pizza, and they have the brick oven pizza, and it's homemade and it's freaking delicious.
I'm gonna have to try it because I've heard of that one. That's on my list. I think I've tried about 45 pizza restaurants in San Antonio.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, it's a lot because actually me and a friend of mine, we were gonna start our own Facebook page of just dedicated to pizza.
That's awesome.
But we never did it.
The world needs it.
and we were just because he's from Chicago and I'm from here, and so we're always like pizza, 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 and so we tried like all the Chicago pizzas, like Trilogy.
What was your Chicago pizza?
I only tried one. I think that was that Chicago pizza place, the one they had off of over by I-10.
Uno's?
They closed it down though. It wasn't that, huh?
Uno's?
No, it was like I think it was called Chicago or something like that. Chicago's Pizza. It was here and then it was gone. I guess it didn't get enough.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Chicago's a different beast. That's where I came from. I was stationed in Chicago before I came back to San Antonio.
Okay. That's too cold. It's too cold up there.
I love there's actually a lot of Mexican Americans in Chicago. They have a lot of gente over there.
So yeah, there was one though that they did deep dish, right? Like a pizza, like Chicago style, but they had the regular crust. So it wasn't like that cornmeal type of, you know how they have, it was just regular crust and it was so good, but it was a food truck, but they were kind of unreliable because every time they would come, they were like, "Oh, we're canceling. Sorry, we can't make it." And it was just always constantly. It was like, dude, y'all had some good pizza, but
yeah, I'm done with it. Yeah, but no, try halftime. I think it's good. I even got my grandma hooked. She'll call me and be like, "Can you order me a pizza?" I'm like, "You got it, girl." They have like a lemon buffalo mix.
yeah.
Delicious.
My absolute favorite is Miss Ellie's Pizza right now here in San Antonio.
Miss Ellie's Pizza. Where's that at?
It's off of 281 and Bitters. It's right behind the Target.
Mm-hmm.
It's in a little shopping area. If you pass by, you'll miss it. It's like super small. but
Mm.
they have some of the best pizza here. Probably the best one because I've tried Mario's, I've tried Capo's, I've tried uh what was it, the one off of Main Street, um was it Southside Pizza, or there's so many different ones, but yeah, that one's been up there. On top of the best one that I've tried though is the one in Austin. And it's home slice. Have you ever tried that one?
No, best pizza I've ever had, hands down, was in Little Italy in Boston, and it was Pizzeria Regina. Racist as hell, old school Italians, but the pizza is worth the racism. I know that's horrible to say. I would take myself to get that pizza all the time, and they don't deliver, so you had to literally go in person to get the pizza. But that pizza was amazing. I will never forget that pizza. It's ingrained in my memory buds. Best pizza ever.
Chicago Pizza is on Blanco and Oblate. Okay, so they still have one. I didn't know if they still had. I wonder if that's still the same one because it was a deep dish,
Ooh,
but yeah, but for sure check out Miss Ellie's Pizza of New York
Miss Ellie, I'm gonna have to write that down. Let me see.
because it's New York style pizza.
Thin and
Uh,
thin, greasy.
huh?
Is it thin and greasy like the rest?
It's thin. It is greasy. I don't like it sometimes when it's greasy, but you definitely could fold it.
Oh, let me ask you this: what's your favorite commercial pizza?
Papa John's.
Peter Piper's right here.
For the memories or for the pizza?
For the pizza. Peter Piper is all the way. I don't care what anybody says.
It is good. It's not like Chacho's good where you have to be drunk to eat it, but sorry. If you like Chacho's, I'm sorry. It's not that bad. Chacho's isn't that bad, but what was I gonna say? So I remember we ate the Chacho's off of Parambido and 35, and they had to escort us inside because they didn't want us outside because of drive-by shootings.
Oh, chocolate and Chaluchis? Yeah.
I was like, ooh, that's not good. What were we saying? Crap, what
But
were we saying? Yeah. Oh, the commercial pizza. Yeah. So Peter Piper. So Papa John's, because they actually we got that for our wedding.
really?
Yeah, we were like, you know what? Because we did our wedding at the library, the public library, the red enchilada.
Uh-huh.
We did it there. So it was very like unconventional. So we did it there, and then we also were like, you know what? Instead of buying pizza or instead of buying food, right, catered, because I was a photographer, so I'm like, I knew how much people would spend on this stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do that. That's just ridiculous to me. We're like, we'll do pizza, and so we did. What was it, like 33 boxes of pizza, and they came and delivered it, and everybody ate it. So there was no leftovers.
Yeah, who hates pizza?
Right. So I mean that's the best thing to do. If you ever have a wedding, just obviously make sure you talk to your spouse about it, especially if you're the husband. Make sure you talk to your wife about it. But
Bro thing. I'm like, look, bro, pizza and wings, the way to go.
right. Bring your own liquor.
Right. Hey, you know what? That's love right there. Pizza,
Right? Yep.
unconventional, you're good. They say
Yep.
the least money that you spend on the wedding, usually is a sign of, how it's going to go in the end. So,
Right. Hey, we're going 10 years strong. So that's a testament right
there you go, Mr. and Mrs. Velasquez.
there.
Awesome. I've never heard anyone having pizza at the wedding. That's awesome.
So and the reason why my wife was okay with it, because apparently um the prince, what was it, prince who was the older prince from
William.
Prince William and Princess Kate had that for their wedding.
They had pizza?
Yes, but they was done secretly. They were done in like some underground thing that was shut off from everybody.
That's
apparently. So that's why she was okay with it. So, if any guys are trying to get that by their wives, maybe that'll be a
that's a good piece of info.
right. um all right, so I know you're busy, but any last things that you want to say, about your podcast or anything else that you want to let people know?
Um, live your life. I know that sounds so crazy, right? So random, but like, man, this past year was so crazy and so hard on everybody. And I think regardless of judgment or what you think, or if you're scared, man, just live your life. You know, if if there's anything we've learned, it's that it's too short, to worry about judgment, to worry about your own fears, to worry about what other people may think. I mean, just be happy. If you want to do it, do it. Who cares?
Right.
As long as you're
Y-
happy, as long as you're happy, you're not hurting anybody. Hey,
a lot of people started their own businesses, right? Like whether it's food or whatever, they just started it last year, and I think that that is a testimony to say, look, you don't need to have a pandemic to make you change courses. You can do it
right,
like whenever. You probably want to do it not when there's a pandemic, because then there's, you know, probably a lot more risk involved. But
right.
the fact that more people did it during the pandemic, they followed their dreams, or they tried something different. I think that should tell people that why not?
Yeah.
Why not try something different?
I definitely think that the pandemic had as many blessings as it did, curses, I guess, for lack
Yeah.
of, it was a blessing and a curse, and a lot of things changed. A lot of people had to get creative. A lot of people had to change their lifestyle, and it worked for a lot of people.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm grateful for just people that were able to do that. I think that's really awesome. But I also I'm sad that so many people had to pass away
Right.
because of that.
Yeah.
And just also shout out um to Adan Hernandez. I know he just recently passed away.
I
Um,
saw that yesterday.
yeah, it's sad. I don't know how did he? Do you
I
know
don't.
how?
I actually tried to Google it and I didn't find any information on it, but I'm sure, within this next week, things will come out. But man, that's a legend right there.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely super sad. But um, but on a different note, yeah. So how can people get a hold of you and watch your podcast? Or actually, no, you know what? I'm gonna do something different. Since I already have it, this is what I was gonna do. I don't normally do this, but since it's you,
Thank you, thank you. Oh my god,
so
look so tired. Sorry, I was like half dead.
well, if anybody wants to donate their time and help Tori with maybe coming up with a new, what do you want, a logo or something, or what?
Anything. No,
Anything?
I mean, if anyone ever has anything they want to talk about or any stories, like I'm always up for taking guests and taking, listening and putting out people's story, putting out people's information. I mean, I've everybody that I've interviewed so far has done like amazing, amazing things. Actually, small world. The last woman that I talked to, Miss Cynthia Martinez, she's in Michigan,
Huh.
and she had a crazy story. And it ended up like her dad was in a Tejano band when he first came from Mexico, which I was like, what a small world! I work for I was telling her that I knew people in Michigan. Well, then, like the next day, when we added each other on like social media, it turns out she actually knows the people that I know in Michigan. Oh my goodness, it's such a small world. Like this is so crazy. And one of my friends' mom is like, "Tori, is this you?" And I guess she followed Cynthia as well. And I'm like, "That's me." And she's like, "Oh my gosh!" And that's really, like I said, I feel like I'm where the universe always brings me where I'm supposed to be, because little things like that happen, and I'm like, "Oh man, like what are the chances of things like this happening, or things lining up, or
Right.
all these mutual connections."
Yeah, and it's big too because not that you have to have these connections to be able to be successful, but just I don't know, just to have these connections, you never know who you might help, right?
Right.
Like with the pandemic, or not the pandemic, the snowstorm. I I knew somebody that was doing a lot of food distributions, right? Like they were buying stuff and getting them out to people that were stuck in the snow and couldn't go anywhere. And I knew somebody who was trying to get some of the seniors some food.
Hmm.
So I was like, well, I have these two connections. I'll hook them up with each other, and they can go do this and go help some people that need food, and that's what happened.
Yeah. No.
And
100.
it Yeah, and it doesn't matter what your beliefs are, or whatever it is. I mean, at the end of the day, we should all be kind to each other, right? And but all these connections help. It helps with giving resources and things like that. As long as you use them for good, I think that's what the best thing is.
Yeah.
You
100.
know.
Oh yeah, and you always have great resources. That's why I'm always like, I'm always like, oh, this is awesome. Share, share, share. Things, stuff for seniors, stuff for young girls,
Mhm.
underfunded, communities. Awesome.
Yeah. Have you tried Rally Point?
No, but I feel like I've heard of that.
Yeah, Rally Point. It's a social media app for veterans,
Hmm.
and they have a lot of different resources on there too. So I was actually going to tell Larissa about that too, because I know they've been actually talking about military sexual trauma as well.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, well, that'd be perfect thing for her to outreach on there as well.
Yeah.
It's definitely another resource. You know what I mean? So just check it out. It's called Rally Point. Um, and it'll have you like put in like what your rank is. So they'll have your like mine was staff sergeant. It'll say staff sergeant. Eric Velasquez on there. So um, they'll ask you for your stuff, and you just put in your stuff, and it'll label you as whatever your rank is, and
Hmm. Oh, cool.
it's really cool. So yeah, so for anybody who wants to know, Chicana Chisme podcast is on Instagram. And then
And I
what
have a
is
few too. It's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It's on any digital platform: Google, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you can find podcasts, it's on there. And then
it?
with my radio show, it's 98.9 FM here in San Antonio, KLMO. And we also have an app. You can pull us up on Alexa. Um, you can live stream www.klmo989fm.com. And yeah, and we're always trying to do stuff throughout the community. We're really big at one of the health clinics here that does a lot of stuff for elderly people. We're always on Saturdays. Placido does a lot of like political interviews and things of that nature. I am always, representing the women on my Women of Tejano Wednesdays. I've brought a lot of people who are just doing stuff around the community, in such as yourself. I've had April come in, so if there's anybody ever needs anything, that they want to bring out to the radio or the podcast, or present or talk about, reach out. I have like a million Instagram profiles. I have a personal one, I have a radio one, podcast one, and then the same thing on Facebook. I have a radio page, I have a podcast page, and then my own personal page.
Yeah. And I know I had talked to you about it. It's like, man, trying to keep your personal one personal, that's a hard one because it's like, you know, you only want to share certain stuff on your personal ones, right? And you don't want like everybody to see it. So that's why, like with me, I never, you never see, hardly ever see any pictures with my kids or stuff. Um, I have to get the approval from my wife. So I was like, "Can I post this?" She's like, "Yeah, it's fine." Because it's personal. We always want to keep a little bit of stuff personal, but it's hard, especially when you're out, in public. So,
Yeah.
but
I know I've had, I've had people, because I have a boyfriend, and somebody the other day was like, well, I couldn't tell. They asked me for something. I was like, oh, I have a boyfriend, sorry. They're like, well, I couldn't tell. You wouldn't be able to go. And I'm like, that's the point. That's none of your business. I'm allowed to keep things to myself, like I post my little brother, or I don't post, my parents too
Yeah.
much, or my grandparents. And, it's just certain things are just private.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel
Definitely.
I spill enough of myself. You don't need every single little point of my business and my personal things that I have going on everywhere.
Yeah, and and that's true. It's just I know some people they get invested, like they want. I don't know. It's like they want to feel like a connection, and
Right.
I think that is pretty cool because you know people have told me they're like, oh wow, that's so cool. Like I got to meet you. I'm like I'm nobody. To me, I don't feel like I'm not anybody. But like when I meet other people, I'm like, oh, it's you. So I can kind of see that it's just establishing that connection. But
Right.
there's a limit. It's
Yeah.
definitely a
Ex-
limit.
and I feel like, I share quite a bit. I'm pretty open, and pretty open of a book. But yeah, there's definitely sometimes where I'm just like, no, I just want to keep a lower profile to myself.
Right. Exactly. So how can are you taking any like donations or anything for your podcast or anything else like that you don't mind sharing?
I have not. I've actually had that. I'm kind of in the works of thinking of doing like some merchandise, just because like my jersey, the educated Chicana jersey,
Mm.
everyone's always asking me about that. So I'm thinking maybe of doing something like that, or I'm
Do you
working
have
on.
that made or what?
Yeah, one of my best friends actually made it
Oh,
for when I graduated last year.
dude, do it.
And
Do
he told me, he's like, I'll make them for you, and I was like, okay, maybe. And I have a couple things coming up with the radio, so look out for that. I'm pretty excited, which I'm still in the planning mix of. So have a lot going on. This year is gonna be a good year for getting things off the ground again.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, just do it. Just set something up.
Let's do it. I know. I keep telling myself, but and then I am always like, oh, I need to stop. I need to chill out and maybe cut back on some things. And then I join LLI, right?
I know when you said that, when you told me, I was like, wait, but aren't you doing all these other things? You were having you're going to school, right?
Yeah. Work full time, go to school, have the radio, have the podcast. Try attempt to have a social life. So
Right.
yeah, it never fails.
um well hold on, I don't know. Is that me? Hold on. I don't know, maybe it's me. I don't know. Well, if anybody wants to donate to my podcast, I think I might need some new equipment over here. I don't know. Um,
Donate to Eric.
the what?
No, I'm like, donate to Eric.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Can you hear yet?
Yeah, I do hear it.
Okay, I don't know. Okay, well, maybe they're just wanting me to try to kick me off. Okay, well, thank you, Tori. I appreciate it. Everybody, make sure you go on to her podcast and her radio show to go check her out, and just see if maybe make a connection. See if she's willing to take you on to her podcast regarding whatever issue or subject you want, and I'm sure she will. Right? So, all right. Well, thank you, Tori. I appreciate it. Oh, hello. Okay. Well, sorry guys, but yeah, thank you guys for joining, and you guys have an awesome day.